We're all good. Okay, so firstly, the first thing we have to say is thank you for coming on.
More than happy to come have a chat.
There we go. So for those of you that don't know, Wood Imp, competitive bolt action tournament winner.
I have won a tournament, yes.
Competitive bolt action tournament winner. Professional Italian player. Best painted winner.
I came third in that one.
Valrak editor.
I do edit for Valrak. Yeah, that one is true.
There you go. So you are the power behind the foil.
I just guide. I guide the foil.
You guide the foil.
And Valrak takes the full brunt of it.
Takes the full brunt of it. So, dude, it's great to have you on. We've sort of been chatting. We've been to a bot action or event or two together as well. So we've got to know each other a little bit over the last few months, and it's been great. And today, you actually had the opportunity to go and see Warlord Games' latest new game, and you're doing me a big favor by coming in and because I couldn't go and see it, unfortunately. You're doing a big favor by coming on and telling us a little bit about it. So, Konflict 47.
Konflict 47. It was at the NEC in Birmingham, which is sort of probably the main event center in the UK for any convention of any kind, really. And there were lots of other people there as well, and to give credit to them. You know, Trench Crusade were there, and a whole bunch. There's more than I could possibly mention.
Trench Crusade, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, Trench Crusade were really cool to talk about. We're not talking about Trench Crusade at the moment.
No.
We're talking about Konflict, which, in fairness to them, out of all the stands that we went to today, it was the one that most people were walking past and were going, well, what's that? I got to go have a look at that.
Yes.
Because they put on by far the best display board in the whole place. There were 300 to maybe 500 stalls in this place.
Wow.
And they just went full like Warhammer World diorama.
Wow.
It was bigger than a 6x4 table. It was bigger than that. And they just went to town on it.
Holy shit, man.
You've probably seen pictures on their Instagram. Some people are floating pictures around on Twitter and on Discords and whatnot of the display they put on before, but in there were some old models that are existing in Konflict 47 because all the old stuff is carrying over to the new edition.
Amazing.
But hidden in the rough were the gems.
Nice.
And that might have included an entirely plastic new starter set.
Oh, okay. So we're just gonna edge people a little bit with that, because I think what I want to do first is let us explain a little bit about what Konflict 47 is.
Yeah, I'm getting it. The plastic is such an attraction for those in the know.
Yeah.
That I want to talk about it. But no, I understand.
We're going to get to the plastic crack, don't worry. Let's explain a little bit what Konflict is, and then let's explain a little bit about why it's such a big deal and what potential it has because we've heard this term used many times before in the past, but as a quote-unquote 40k killer.
Yeah, you're the one that's been saying that.
I'm gonna keep saying
I mean, I believe it. I mean, I was there. Valrak was there, and he was just as impressed as everybody else, and he's the biggest 40k fan going. And when we left, basically, it was myself, Valrak, and some of his Discord mods that went, Dakota and Daka. And we were all arguing over, well, I want to play the American in this. No, I want to play the Italian in this. No, I'm going to play the Italian in this.
Yes.
It's essentially... It feels wrong to describe it this as bolt action with a lot of spice on top.
Yeah.
But that is essentially what it is. They've taken their very successful World War II tabletop game.
Yep.
And they've then looked in their history because virtually all of Warlord staff come from GW.
Yep.
And if they haven't, they are just up the road. They all play 40k. They all love sci-fi.
Yeah.
And they've essentially sci-fi'd up the World War II tabletop game.
Yeah.
And it's made this fantastic blend of the nice, simple, and easy to learn rules and aesthetic of World War II, and then just stuck plasma cannons and Tesla cannons and spider crabs and walking mechs and zombies and werewolves on the top of it, just to give it that little bit that I appreciate that a lot of people struggle to maybe get into historical.
Yeah.
Because it's a little maybe too serious or old man like. I guess could be, it's sort of that's what the old boys at the club play. I'm into my sci-fi games.
Yeah.
And they've gone, all right then, have all the sci-fi. There's more sci-fi in this than you could possibly imagine. Everything that's in Bolt Action is essentially also in Konflikt 47, but with that little twist on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's very important.
So good.
I think that twist is very important. So it's a brand new sci-fi game. And as you said, we say brand new. It did have a first edition, but the first edition was very much just an expansion to Bolt Action. And
yeah,
there was a few there was essentially a handful of resin kits put together for it.
If I recall, it was originally written by, I can't remember, I'm terrible with names, so apologies for not remembering. There were the chaps that basically came, or maybe two guys that came up with the original idea of Konflikt 47, which was an add-on to Bolt Action. And it grew in so much popularity that Warlord essentially bought the concept.
Yeah.
And said, this is a great idea, we want to take it further. And the original creators agreed, we're going to hand it over to Warlord to take it up to that next level.
Yeah.
And they started doing that by releasing the kits with the cannons and whatnot. But as it's grown in popularity in sort of the dark gaming rooms of the world, they've realized, oh, wow, people really like this. And this is a really cool idea. And I'm not going to get the quote quite right here, but I was talking to Peter today from Warlord about it. And he basically said, we just wanted to rework the entire game to bring it up to the standard that they feel it deserves.
Yes.
So they've gotten writers in to work on the lore. They've gotten the sculptors to work on new sculpts. They've got the rules writers guys to tweak the rules and make it. Some of the rules are just bonkers.
But we want.
It's all just dialed up to 11. It really reminds me of what 40k used to feel like playing. If I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But we'll get into the details of what makes me say that later. But it's got that. It's not about I'm going to pivot my thing over here. It's like, no, I'm going to deep strike some flamethrowers into your backline.
Yes.
By doing that, you're just going to shoot me in the face, but I don't care because I'm deep striking a mech into your backline with flamethrowers, and it's just chaos everywhere.
So it's
bonkers.
I think the big difference here is, I think we've heard the term 40k killer thrown around many times over the years, and yet somehow 40k marches on, and Star Wars X-Wing left in the dirt, and other examples. When I use the term 40k killer, I will admit I am being a little bit hyperbolic. I am probably exaggerating slightly, but what I would say is I think Konflikt 47 has the potential to. I think it has the potential to maybe cause GW to look up from their giant pile of money and go, "What's that?" And
I agree.
Very little that does that. There's very little that does that.
I feel that's possibly becoming more accessible now, as back in the day, GW sort of had this monopoly because other companies couldn't possibly sum up the money to compete.
Yeah.
Whereas Warlord have been working in the background. They've had some very successful launches recently with Bolt Action and Hail Caesar. They've got the experience, they've got the capital and the passion to actually put something together that a lot of people are looking at this and going, this is really cool. I play 40k. I don't know if I can afford another game. And then they walk over to the stall where they're selling the models and they go, oh, wait, for what would cost, this would buy me 30 quid. It's 30 quid for like 3 Space Marine, the veterans with the shield. I barely play 40k anymore.
Yeah, basically, I think
they're like 30 quid.
30 quid, I think, on a good day, mate.
30
Probably
guys for this.
Yeah, I think it's 30 quid on a good day, mate. I think it's typically, we're looking at like 40 quid these days.
Yeah, exactly. Well, 40 quid if you're dropping this into one of the Warlord, any of the Warlord product lines, really.
Yeah.
Konflikt is a little bit more expensive, but that's why they're going plastic now to try and pull those prices down.
Yeah.
40 quid's going to get you several, you can get 2 boxes with that.
Yeah.
And the boxes will be 3 to 4 times bigger as well.
Yeah.
It's a really accessible game.
I think this is the biggie, right? And we're going to get into the details. We're talking big pitch stuff at the moment. We'll get into the details of what you saw, because I know a lot of people are going to be very excited about that. But it's a sci-fi game, not historical. That's the first point we've made there. The
Yes,
second point,
it's
which
an
you've just
alternative history.
yeah, and because a lot, as you said, a lot of people they hear historicals and they just instantly no, they're not interested.
Yeah.
This is sci-fi. This is proper sci-fi. It's wacky, it's crazy. There's zombies, there's werewolves, there's people with antifreeze for blood. There's mechs, there's like lasers. It's proper sci-fi. So that's the first thing. It's proper sci-fi. Secondly, it's a proper skirmish game. But Trench Crusade is very, very good, but I know myself and a lot of other people, and a big problem with a lot of these other alternative games that come along is they don't have the same scale as 40k. You collect a squad, not an army. No. Conflict, you're collecting an army.
Oh yeah.
That's the big difference. And the reason why I think it's so important to have that some people might say, but that means you need to buy more models. When you're hyped up for something, you're looking for excuses to buy models. You're looking for reasons to expand your force. That's what war gamers are like. So I think it's a big mistake that a lot of these alternative game companies make, where they go, you only need to buy one box. Like, yeah, I'm looking for reasons to buy more than one. I think that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, it's a funny crux, that, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the last thing to mention, you touched upon this, there's pedigree here. We are not talking about a small company that might release one edition and then that's it. We are talking about Warlord Games, arguably the second biggest player in the gaming space. I mean, after my camera's gone all fuzzy, there we go, it's back again now. After Games Workshop, if you ask people to name another games company, I think the one that 90% of people would give you would be Warlord Games. Maybe you'd get Fantasy Flight, but I think so that's the big thing. So there's pedigree here. And like I said, a lot of ex-GW staff here. Rick Priestley, the guy who came up with Warhammer 40k, works at Warlord Games. Alessio, who worked on things like Lord of the Rings, works at Warlord Games. There is the people that actually made 40k are involved in some capacity with Conflict.
It even goes deeper than that. It's the guys in the, pouring the metal in the casting room. It's the guys in the marketing department. They're just riddled with, jaded ex-GW staff members that have a passion for making great games, but just wanted to leave that. I've heard horrible rumors about working at GW.
It's just they wanted to leave
They wanted to escape that.
They want to leave the corpo environment, and they want to get back to, I am doing this because I enjoy it, not because I want to make money. And if I make money along the way, brilliant. But honestly, I'm doing this, and I understand sometimes there's a bit of give and take. They're not. No company is saints, and we all know that. But it's generally speaking at Warlord, the people are there because they're hobbyists first, and they're business people second. And there will, of course, there will be people there that obviously focus on the money, of course. But basically, it's OG. That's the way of looking at it. It's OG. And so it's very, very exciting. And the last thing I think is worth mentioning, point number 5. This is the point number 5. We have seen sci-fi 40k killers come along before. Star Wars Legion.
We have.
And do you know why Star Wars Legion failed? Because it's the only game in history that costs more than 40k.
I was looking at those the other day. Thinking, these are nice models. Oh wait, it's 70 quid for a tank. You can't do that.
Even if I only need one of them, I just no.
It's just our principle. You can't do it, can you?
So we've got OG-ness, we've got sci-fi-ness, and we've got pricey. We've got the lack of priceness, cheapness. I'm just saying, it's bringing all of this stuff together, and it's got the right scale. This is why I, for the first time, because there've been many people that have said 40k killer, 40k. It's for the first time that I am saying, I think this could be, like I said, it could be a big deal.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely put a dent in, particularly in the UK. It's a very popular sort of in that lead belt area. Everyone knows about Warlord. And I think a lot of people in your own community, in the other communities I'm involved in, they've all sort of been waiting because they know this new edition of Conflict's coming. Yeah. They've been holding off, and it's coming.
Yeah.
and sooner than you might think.
Oh my god, amazing! So before we get into what you saw, we've got a quick super chat coming in here, and it's for you. It is from
me.
It's from Tiki the Hut. And it simply says, Banzai! For Wood Imp. Banzai! 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 So big shout out to Tiki. And it is worth mentioning, guys, that of course it's not just myself here talking to all of you guys that are watching along live. If you have any questions about what we're talking about, please get them down. I will do my best to keep an eye on the chat, and we'll pick some out as we're going along. But I think that's a pretty good intro on the whole thing. So tell us what happened. Give us the deets. Spare no expense, spare no detail.
So much happened. It's hard to almost know where to begin. I think you got to start with the giant table.
Okay.
And you can see it from a mile away. But first we spotted the Warlord because they had a little thing in the sky like they do, Warlord games over here. And we wandered through, and then you could just see this monolith of a model in the middle of it. I'm going to say it's probably about 2 feet wide by 2 feet tall, giant spider pyramid thing. I almost don't know how to describe it. And surrounding it is just chaos. There are mechs firing rockets, there's missile pods firing everywhere, and Warlord being Warlord, they've gone through the effort, putting all the little bits of smoke with the missiles coming off of them, Then half tracks with multiple flamethrowers firing every direction.
Wait, is that officially sold smoke? Because obviously if this was a Games Workshop display, we could only use GW smoke and extra parts.
Right? I don't know if it's official smoke, but maybe it might be. They do have some flamethrowers where they got the coming out of it, It's one of those. It's almost a little overwhelming sometimes with Konflict and Warlord products, because you'll go on the product page and you scroll to the bottom to see page 2, and it says viewing models 1 to 30 out of 7,000.
Yeah.
So every day, every time I go on the Warlord website, I find a new discovery.
Yeah.
So we were looking around it. We actually managed to sneak in a little bit early because we got press passes, so the rabble wasn't there yet. I know, right? They weren't quite finished setting up yet, though, so they were like, piss off, come back later when we're done setting up. You got to give them credit, though. They were really taking their time making sure every model in this display board was placed exactly in the right place. But the first things that you do when you look at Konflict is you see the mechs. And the first corner that we happened to approach had one of these big mechs in it. And we're showing some of the guide viewers, this is Konflict. This is the mech game we've been telling you about. And they're like, these are really cool. And then we picked it up and we're like, hang on. This isn't a metal model. This isn't a resin model. It weighs nothing.
No.
These look better than they used to. And then one of the guys came over and went, yeah, that's the new plastic kit for the American, I think it's called the Linebacker. And
is it a new model or is it a remastered model?
Yes, it's a remastered one. So it's not just they've actually got lore reasons they're explaining as well. So in the lore, it's also been upgraded.
Okay.
Because what they do is they'll fly transport planes and just push the mech out of them. It doesn't get a parachute. It just has to bend its knees when it lands. Yeah. They were having problems with the previous design buckling under the weight of it landing. Okay. So that's what the lore justification for the new is slightly bigger. It's got so many weapon options on it. It's bonkers.
They had a lore justification for introducing a unit. That's so weird.
Because they got 3 authors that they brought on to work on the project.
But I thought the way you did it is you made a tank called a Rogal Dawn and then missed the bottom of it off and then introduced it and then never explained where it came from.
I mean, I can confirm that all the tanks did have their bottoms.
That's good. That's good to know.
That's a good start, right? And
that's a very good start.
they're all multi-pose models as well coming in. There's no monopose stuff. With the exception of one, which we'll get to, because I might possibly have a Konflict 47 3rd edition model with me.
No way. We have actually got a few people asking about pictures and stuff. So if you've got any pictures that you're allowed to share,
I have pictures.
Share them. If not,
I won't be able to share them right now this second, if I'll be honest with you, because they are on the camera that I am using to talk to you with. I'm afraid.
What we'll do is, for those of you that are wanting pictures, I'll probably, once we've had a bit of a chat, I'll look at the Warlord Instagram page because there's loads of stuff on there I've just looked at. And also, if you're watching this as the stream highlight SaltCast, we'll have Evan.
We'll drop them in.
Evan will drop them in. Evan will drop them in. Yeah.
Like a linebacker, it'll just drop in from the sky.
There you go. All right. So we will edit them in on the post-live version. There we go. All right.
So yeah, first one was the brand new mech linebacker. It seems to come with just a plethora of weaponry on it, and it's completely multi-pose. They were really proud of the fact actually that when you're putting it together, it's not just the legs are two like blocky legs. You can bend the toes. You can have it kicking stuff. The kit bashing potential with this is unlimited. They were saying even the toes are posable.
That's
so if you want to
amazing.
have some, funky toe action going on, so you can make it look, how you want it to. They know. They're gamers. They get it.
You know how to sell models to this community. It's got good feet. It's got good feet potential. Goddamn linebacker feet picks.
Yeah, it can be kicking in a Sherman tank. No, well, it wouldn't be a Sherman because it's American. Kicking in a Panther tank if you want.
Nice.
And you can get it just the way you want. You can yeet that across the board. But then we were looking around, and there were some more new models around this mech.
Okay.
More new models. So the American force as a whole, as was explained to me, because we went in a little blind, is all about sort of the airborne and mobility.
Okay.
And all around them, these are another upgraded kit that they previously had, but again, all in plastic now.
Is this the heavy infantry?
I don't know if I describe them as heavy, because we did talk about stats.
Okay.
What they are fast.
Okay.
They are their jump pack boys. I want to say they're called Fireflies. I might be wrong, because that's Fireflies already a tank in World War II. But essentially, it is a group of paratroopers who have given up the parachute and taking up jetpacks instead. And they have just juiced up Thompsons on them.
Wow.
In bolt action, like the rule-wise, they're basically Pen 1 submachine guns that they have.
Wait, Pen 1 small arms?
Yeah. Pen 1 small arms that still get the 2 shots.
We got that. We got that AP ammo.
Now they also said they can move 12. Now all infantry can move 12, but that makes me think that they can advance 12.
All infantry can move. Oh, yeah, because it's move.
What they wouldn't say? Oh, and they can move 12 inches. What, like everyone else? No, they.
Unless something really big has changed. I'm just saying.
I mean, maybe. We'll get to their other little rules. I don't because there's so much to talk about. I'm getting muddled.
That's okay, man. They look
fantastic.
We're here to enjoy it.
Yeah, these are all multi-pose kits. They're very similar to what you'd expect for a bolt action sprue for infantry.
Okay.
But they got wings on the back. But they continue then to explain, not only can they move 12, something we've not talked about, which is probably Tiki's raging about in chat, is Rift Dice.
Okay.
Which is the additional mechanic to Konflict.
Okay.
So in the story and concept of Konflict 47, during the Manhattan Project, I'm going to really summarize here. Something went wrong, and it opened a rift through space and time. And Oppenheimer was like, "Oh shit!"
Something went wrong.
Yeah, and there's lots of all the different nations eventually caught on with the technology that was produced from this rift in various and interesting ways, because people were trying to hide it from the Russians because we can't trust the Russians with it and stuff like that. And the Germans, I think the Germans stole some information. There's a whole bunch of lore around behind it. But essentially, everyone's got this little technological boost, and that's what bumps it into this sci-fi space.
That's cool. And in Konflict, it's worth mentioning lore-wise that the Russians are not part of the Allies anymore.
Nope.
So there's Russians, there's the Russians there's the Soviets that are one side, there's the Axis, which is one side, and then there's the Allies, the Western Allies, which are the other side. So it's actually a three-way fight, which I just want to say, Red Alert 2, the tabletop game. This is what it feels like, Red Alert 2, the tabletop game. And as a millennial, I don't think I can get more erect. I'm just going to say, I don't think it's possible.
Now, I hate to do this to you, but actually, the the Allies are also slightly split in this as well. I don't know how much of this is new.
Okay.
So you actually will have the Allies are the Commonwealth.
Okay.
And then you have the Americans.
Okay.
They are the whole own separate faction now. And then you forgot about a little fella that Tiki will also be raging about.
Okay.
Japan are their own. They got their whole own nation thing going on as well.
Okay.
The Italians are a bit weird. So the Italians are mixed in with the Axes, but they're also with the
Oh my God, you're
Commonwealth.
talking in the context of conflict. I thought we were getting a little bit.
Yes. Well, I mean,
oh, not lying though.
in the law. The problem is I keep muddling it. I think it's the North have joined the Allies, the Commonwealth. See, I'm getting it muddled up now.
It's okay. It's all right. It's only very rough around the edges.
Yeah, but so there's a whole bunch of different nations, but the Americans are their own, and each one has very much its own play style as well that they've written in. So there's law differences between them all. The Soviets are all super tanky. Their infantry get gene spliced into bears and stuff like that, whereas the Americans, like we've been talking about, are all about fast-moving infantry and mechs, and they're jumping all over the place. And that they've used the Rift technology we're talking about to influence their game mechanics as well.
Very interesting.
So I don't know the exact ins and outs of how the ruling for Rift dice work.
Okay.
But it's essentially an activation that each unit has that lets them do a thing.
Okay.
And when you do that, you then see if they can do it again, or the dice goes back in the bag. It's like an additional order dice.
Okay.
For these jumpy boys we've been talking about, they can essentially make an additional move at the end of their turn.
Jump, shoot, jump.
Yeah, basically.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, and they can deep strike
JSJ is
1
back,
inch, by the way.
boys. You can deep strike 1 inch.
Yeah. But there is a crux to it, and I kind of dig this because that sounds insane, right?
It is. That's okay.
Everyone, I think it's within 12 inches. Everyone within 12 inches of a unit that deep strikes in can then basically overwatch against it, or like make a reactionary fire against it. So if you really want to put it, up someone's backside, you can do it, but don't be surprised if they then turn around and, unload everything into you. So it gives you a lot of gameplay, choices.
Yeah.
But then you then still have that rift dice at the end, so you can drop right into the back line, fire your 10 +1 Thompsons, activate the rift dice, hop back out of there. You're going to be everywhere with these guys.
Spicy.
They really took the idea of mobility and just like 11. We're just going to go all the way.
Spicy. Holy man. Holy moly. So we've got, and so basically there's like almost like a rift dice economy, a rift token economy. So you're going to have units that are, and I think I really like the sound of this, because the units don't need the rift dice to do what they're going to do. The jumpy dudes are still fast. They've still got the pen SMGs, but you have you have this economy of basically rift dice where you can be like, okay, I need to supercharge a unit or two for a turn. And once they're gone, they're gone.
That card you pull out when you need it,
Yeah.
And I believe there's a chance that it can go wrong as well, because the Rift technology is all new and crazy and unstable. So I'm not sure of the negative consequence for all the units, because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
But you might well find yourself getting blown up by your own activation if you're not careful.
It's very interesting. If there is, it definitely sounds a little bit like a alternative way that they do stratagems in 40k.
That's what I've sort of. Well, it's a theme in multiple games, isn't it? It's that bonus activation skill kind of thing that's attached to the unit.
It'll be that's really, and the thing is, like, but I think the big difference in obviously 40k, how it is at the moment, is you have this constant drip feed of CP to do your stratagems.
Yes.
And stratagems don't really have any downsides either. It's just, here you go, go nuts. And also you've got, I think, a bit of a problem with stratagems in 40k is they're quite liberal with what units they can go on, and so sometimes an interaction that GW doesn't anticipate happens, and then that unit ends up being broken. Whereas what it sounds like, we are going to talk about this through the lens of 40k, because obviously we've hyped up as being a bit of a 40k killer. Well, I say but I'll take the blame. But I think the way of looking at this is actually, it's not really CP to activate stratagems. It's, imagine if you had CP to activate the abilities on your data sheet. That's the way of thinking about it. And so you're not going to have this case of, we didn't think that someone would use stratagem A on unit B. We thought that stratagem A would really get used on unit A, but when it gets used on unit B, it breaks everything. And so instead, it's like, we've got the ability on the data sheet. I think they call it unit entry over at Warlord. We've got the ability on the unit entry. So the Rift, that the CP is the Rift dice. It's just the generic currency, and it only gets used on specific abilities for that unit, which should actually, to be fair, bolt action isn't a particularly balanced game, but that should actually do that should maybe contribute a little bit to being able to control it, because if something feels a bit wacky, there is potential to just tweak it in like an FAQ, because Warlord aren't against FAQing things sort of once a year. So there is a little...
No, they're not.
They used to be very anti-FAQ.
Quite a bit recently, actually.
Yeah, they used to be very anti-FAQ, but now they do little tweaks, not big tweaks. Yes. They don't really change points. They just occasionally tweak something. I'd say probably once every 6 months.
Yeah, I think they tend to try and target things that are actually broken. I feel is the... rather than just power creeping like 40k seems to do, in my limited experience. The example I'd think of is the Comsomolets that the Finnish have. They was way too cheap. They put out an FAQ, increase the price cost.
Okay, fair enough.
Arguably too much, but they
that's
addressed
the first
it.
Points increase they've done in a while, because they don't normally do points increases unless they absolutely have to.
No, but it was bonkers. Let's be honest with us. The Comsomolet, it was 16 points for a veteran transport with a machine gun on it. It's
Hey, they're the free rules, baby. The free rules. They're the free rules. Occasionally something sneaks through, right? Okay, so that sounds really cool. We have a couple of super chats coming in here. We'll dip onto those, and then we'll actually, before I forget, before super chats, one thing I wanted to mention, the whole faction thing we talked about. One of the other big criticisms that people tend to have towards historicals is they don't feel like they could do Germans versus Germans, or Germans versus Japanese, or British versus Americans, and so they feel like they're constantly stuck into doing Allies versus Axis. And I think the big thing to mention with Konflict is that it seems that the alliances have definitely broken down across the world, and so Americans versus Russians could happen, Germans versus Japanese could happen, Italians versus everyone probably. I think Brits. I think you could definitely have it where the Brits and the Americans fight over a piece of Rift technology they want to scavenge or something. So that is, I think, a really, really, really big deal, because again, it opens up the potential for people to make their dudes. Not, oh, I'm collecting this US infantry division. This is my dudes. These are my dudes, and they're going to fight in this way, and they're going to be on this side. And also, I think there's potential, like we sort of mentioned with like Red Alert 2 vibes. You want to paint your allies in blue and your Russians in red? Go for it. It's Conflict 47. Who knows?
That is exactly what Peter said today, is that in bolt action, they feel like there are some people in the community, which I don't really meet them that often. The rivet counters are like, oh, you painted your full Shimjäger in the wrong shade of field grey. You should feel ashamed of yourself. They're really trying to push with Konflict that you paint whatever colour you bloody want. Yeah. You want to do blaring red, Germans, you do that. You want to do them in green? Go for it. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. Have fun with it. This isn't real. This is fun. It's meant to be an environment that they're using to build whatever you want with. They're giving you the tools to do it with. Yeah. It's great. It makes it accessible. It makes it really important. Very accessible. And it's like all of those, I dare not use the term excuses, but all those reasons why maybe a fairly entrenched 40k player like, I'm not leaving, it's kind of, those don't really apply to Konflict. Oh, well, it's not sci-fi. It is sci-fi. Oh, well, it's not the right scale. It is the right scale. Oh, well, I have to paint the Germans in field grey. No, you want to paint them in glaring pink and say they worship the pleasure god? You can do that. It's Conflict 47, baby. Who knows what's coming through that rift? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. Like, it's really is. All the old reasons seem to not apply to Konflict, and I think that's a very big deal. Absolutely, yeah. Tiki says, Daughters of the Revolution in swimsuits. Tiki, you got them. I will confirm I saw no swimsuits in the on the table. I assure you the 3D printing community will solve that problem. We do have two super chats going in here. Yeah. Both of them are kind of funny. So the first one is from John Shepherd. Thank you very much for the support, man. I have a question. Has Woodimp ever played Chain of Command? Now, this is a bit of a meme question because John Shepherd has
I think for the last 2 weeks, every stream been sending me chain of command things to try and convert me over to it.
I'll be honest with you, I've not. It's something I've seen in my local stores, but I already played too many games.
Yeah.
And now I've got Conflict. I'm juggling in my mind. Unfortunately, I haven't. But it's something you hear quite a lot of, particularly in the bolt action community.
Yeah.
It's sort of chain of command, flames of war, and bolt action. Yeah, there's three.
Yeah.
There's three primary ones, aren't there? Yeah.
Different scales and stuff, but yeah, generally speaking. And then Spriggs says, thank you very much, Spriggs, for the support. Did all the Warlord employees have their bottoms?
They're what? Their bottoms?
In reference to the Rogal Dawn. Did all the Warlord employees have their bottoms?
As far as I'll be honest with you, I didn't go around and check everyone in detail. But from
Why
what
do you think we sent you all this way?
Yeah. Everyone seemed fully intact.
That's good.
They were as charming as ever, and we all had a great time.
There you go.
Which is what you always get when you go to a Warlord event.
Yes.
Whenever they're anywhere, everyone's always really nice, and you always have a good time.
Yeah, it's definitely to try and sort of summarize the difference between whenever I sort of Warlord and GW. When I go to Warhammer World, I feel like I'm talking to an AI. When I talk to the staff, and they're like, "Oh, what are you working on today, buddy?"
That is exactly the quote that we were talking about this today. You go to the till and like, "What project are you working on today?" It's like you don't just leave me alone.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is like that.
Would you like some Marines? Would you like some Marines? Would you like some Marines? Okay, it's not quite that bad. And then when you talk to the people at Warlord, it's like you talk to real human beings, and like, especially if you speak to someone like John Stallard, who last time I spoke to John, he went off, not off on one, like it was, we had a good conversation, and he just started talking about was it Black Powder game, and he's got like is it the Scottish Rebellion and like Black Powder? Is it like the Jacobites? And he's been working on.
That would be covered by Black Powder, yeah.
Yeah, and he's been working on the army. And he was showing me all the pictures and stuff and everything. It's like I was like, dude, this is like this was before I even knew what Black Powder was, and I was like, I don't even know what this is, but now I want Scottish and Black Powder. Like it's like I actually talk to a real human being. So yeah, that's definitely a little bit the difference. But I think there's an element of it's a smaller company. There's still like hundreds of people that work there, but it's a smaller company. Also. I don't think there's quite as much of a cult around Warlord as there is around 40k. It definitely feels like you have to join the cult of GW to work there. You've ever spoken to ex-employees? The ex-employees always say,
they're all just gamers.
Yeah.
You know, and when we in the conversation we were saying about the what project are you working on? We were talking about how we all know someone that's gone to a tournament at Warhammer World, and they've looked over and gone, "Is that a 3D printed shield on your model? Don't bring that here again."
Yeah.
Whereas I've taken 3D printed stuff to Warlord, and they've been like, "That's a pretty cool tank you've got there."
Warlord HQ, yeah.
Yeah, they just love it. They're just involved in the hobby.
Yeah, well,
they make great products, but they recognize other great stuff, and they acknowledge it, and they're just there to have a good time.
I think there's also two things I want to touch upon with this, because we are going a bit off topic. I think it is important talking about.
We're mildly off topic.
It's okay. We are glazing a little bit, but I think it is important because a lot of people, when they want to get into a game, there's definitely an element of they want to know where it's coming from is legit.
Yes.
I think one of the big things that people criticize GW for is the fact that it feels very corpo and we're constantly getting squeezed and all this kind of stuff. I think it's important to note with Warlord that they do have rules for units that they don't make. That's a big deal, because obviously GW, if they don't make the model, then it's not going to have rules. And if at some point and even if they do make the model, if they discontinue
they might have rules.
Yeah, if they do make the model, they're going to discontinue it at some point, and then you're gonna be fucked. But yeah, I think that's kind of like that was sort of the main thing I want to say. Like, they do make models for things that they make rules for models they don't make, which I think is a big deal. And they generally just feel just generally, like you said, they feel just a little bit more legit, more human. Yeah. But going back to Conflict 47.
Yeah, everyone's going to have a great time splicing this all together.
I'll timestamp it for him. It'll be okay.
Shall we talk about what was on the other side of the table?
Yes.
With the Germans.
The Germans! Achtung! Achtung!
So, defending the gigantic spider pyramid thing, which apparently they might put on sale because they were like, it's too cool. Why not? They had the German forces, which featured the usual suspects of tigers and Panzer IVs and all the old conflict stuff, which by no means is bad. But then hidden amongst them again were the brand new plastic things, and you could spot those a mile away because they were just positioned in such a beautiful way, firing their flamethrowers. And there was one that is all right. Well, we'll start again here because I'm getting carried away. There's so much cool stuff.
Carried away.
There is.
We wanna hear the carried away.
Your jaw is going to drop when I get to the infantry.
It's up
but
now.
They've essentially. They have a mirrored image of what's being released for the Americans, where they've got an infantry kit in there that's plastic, and they have a vehicle which is plastic. The vehicle is a new spider tank. It's not one of the great big massive ones. It's more of a little scuttly, creepy thing.
That's great. I like scuttly, creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a turret with multiple weapon options on. I think it's 6 legs. So they've had similar ones before, but this one has 6 legs rather than 4. And on that you can stick flamethrowers and gravity cannons and things I don't understand how they work because they're just sci-fi names. But whilst that is incredibly cool and it is very in fitting with the theme, the infantry on this one I think are the slightly cooler one. Whereas with the Americans, the big linebacker was my personal favorite. It's the infantry for the Germans, which I'm saying infantry, but you actually have to take them in a armored platoon.
Okay.
Because they are armor 7 infantry.
What?
Because they're in power armor.
Okay.
And they are running around, and they can in fact carry, without needing a loader, a light anti-tank gun. So you can have a dude like Halo 3 when you pull off your gun and you run around with it.
Oh yeah. That's so cool.
Thick boys. They are thick.
Proper heavy infantry.
Clad in armor. They are, I'm going to say it, they are essentially Space Marines in the concept. They are the boys in power
I think
armor.
you'll find Space Kriegsmarine.
Space Kriegsmarine, all right.
Legally distinct, DW, suck it.
They have the German trappings. That they stylistically match the German mechanized vibe.
So cool.
But they are just decked to the teeth. They're super tough, and yeah, they carry an anti-tank gun.
Do they have weapon options, or?
They have weapon options as well. Okay. Yeah, but they can carry an anti-tank gun.
How many come in a squad? Like how many? Do you like 3, 5, 10?
They had 5-man squads in this one.
Were they plastic?
And they were plastic.
Yeah.
Now, we tried to pin them down here and say, so is this the starter set? Is it going to be more? And they kind of went, can't say yet. So the current confirmed, I'm not breaking any NDAs here. This is now publicly known information.
Okay, good.
The starter kit is going to be these Americans versus these Germans.
Okay, very fair.
And that kit will include at least some of the plastic jump guys with their Thompsons.
Okay.
The new linebacker mech. Plastic.
Okay.
This is all plastic.
All plastic. All plastic.
Only plastic.
So
all
no
plastic.
resin and metal.
Not that I've been told of. But as I say, they raised their eyebrows when they were talking about what else might be in the box. This isn't even like me planting conspiracy theory. They're generally just like, no.
The foil. The foil.
Get the foil out. So there might be well more. There's definitely going to be some SaltCast stuff thrown in there somewhere, I'm pretty sure.
We like SaltCast. SaltCast is good.
Yeah, that is what I have. I'll show you this in a minute, the other little addition.
Okay.
And the two German units I just told you about, the heavy infantry, whose name are very German and I can't remember. And if I could, I wouldn't be able to pronounce it. And the new little spider tank. And it's all plastic, and it's going to be those two plus a little bit more from the sounds of it in the new starter box, and that's coming out in September.
So we're getting plastic mech, plastic jump dudes, and then plastic
heavy German
infantry,
infantry dudes, they can carry like 18, and the like spider, this little spider tank is so creepy. It's such a creepy looking thing.
Do you think they'll
like the best way?
Do you think they'll chuck in maybe? I mean, you may not know, but do you think they'll chuck in maybe some like regular German grenadiers in there and stuff? Maybe bulk it out a little bit, or do you think it'll be pure? Or do you think? What I'm trying to get an idea of, are we looking at Battle of the Bulge, like / Band of Brothers size of starter army, where it's like squadron of vehicle, or are we looking at like a full starter army here?
I think it will be, and the reason for that is the platoon structure from Bolt Action version 3 is carrying over into this as well.
Cool. Good.
So if they have, and they're saying, they're moving forward, all their kits are going to be rule compliant. Which means that you're probably going to get 2 of those plastic mechs. I can't confirm. This is purely speculation. But there's got to be 2 vehicles, and you need something else to go alongside that plastic mech. And you need something to go alongside the German stuff. You need to have commanders, and you need to have at least 2 infantry squads. So if the German tank and the German infantry are essentially going in an armored platoon, there's still some mystery German infantry unit that needs to go in there to coincide with it. And I imagine that's where the SaltCast will come in for the commanders, which I may as well get onto it now. Which is where this guy comes in. Now, unfortunately, this guy is limited edition. You can only get it if you went to the thing today. Sorry, guys. But
I will find
there will be more of these down the road. I'm going to see if I can get a little zoom in on him here.
Put your hand behind the cap. Put your hand behind it.
Yeah, you can tell I'm new to this.
There you go.
There he is. So he's one of the American paratrooper guys.
What the hell is that, man?
That's the +1 pen submachine gun thing he'd got on there. As you would expect with SaltCast, he's looking great. He's a little bit dusty still, but you just paint over that because it's in the SaltCast. You just paint over it now. I'm gonna paint tomorrow. I'm gonna paint him tomorrow, and I'll send you a video of him painted up because he's just so cool.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see the detail on it.
We can. It came up very nicely. Yeah. A Tesla Thompson is what Tiki's saying.
Yeah. Oh no, you might well be right. Tiki would know. Tiki is the community.
So
can
we just
aficionado for
let's just take a moment here to take. How sci-fi does that model fucking look?
He's very sci-fi.
That's not a World War II
I've just
model.
noticed in the chat. Stephen has asked if you can use standard historical stuff too. You can.
Okay.
That's something to mention because we'll forget about that. Otherwise, you can bring an entire bolt action V3 army and play Konflict with it. You won't get any of the cool, crazy sci-fi guns though, so maybe you'll be missing out a little bit.
Yes.
But you absolutely can. Or if you want to pick up a couple of boxes of Konflict or 1 box of Konflict and then supplement the rest of your force with historical, you can absolutely do that.
So it's
and what's the really nice thing with the tanks is the tanks are usually just a different turret.
Yeah. Do we know if the current resin turrets will be coming in plastic? Because at the moment they just tack a resin thing on top.
Yeah, I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
One of the things that they were saying is we were going through, this is older, right? And but it's coming in plastic.
Okay.
I can't. One, I don't know what all these. I know my World War II stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the crazy Tesla cannon modifications, I have no idea what half of these things were. So we're just pointing at the cool, this tank and going, this is really cool. What are you going to do with this? Plastic. What are you going to do with this infantry? Plastic, probably. And talking of plastic, each of the major nations will also be all getting plastic infantry. Japanese are going to be getting their plastic infantry. The Italians, the 2 different Italian factions are going to be getting plastic infantry. They have these Centurion guys that look like, Caesar's Legion.
Plastic Centurion guys, that's huge.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to do this, but the iconic British model for Konflict is the skinny robot Tim Pop.
Yeah, the automatons.
You know the one, yeah?
Yeah.
I'd like to think it's going to be them. But whatever it is, the Brits are getting plastic. Everyone is getting plastic. And when I asked when are these going to be coming out, they said we're going to be getting these out rapid.
Yeah.
The game will start with the American-German box set we've been talking about and the units individually, as they always do.
Yeah.
But they were like, no, we're gonna be getting these out now. We see potential in this. Apparently, they have a bit of an issue with the guys in the studio in like the sculpting department going, oh, we can just do that. We're just gonna smash it out. Like, no, you got other stuff you got to work on. No. I can get all this conflict stuff done. We're gonna cram it out. Like, yeah. We need Napoleonics as well. We got to be.
Well, this is the thing with sci-fi because it's not constrained by history. There's the potential here's the thing, if someone in the sculpting department goes, I've got a great idea for a Stork tank, I've got a great idea for a Cyclops infantry guy who's like got one giant eye in the front that he can see really well, he's been like gene modified, and they start sculpting away in it. If there's just potential for them to do something with that, it lets the creative juices flow.
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want, and you can see that particularly in the mech design. I think the mechs are something that really sell people on Conflict.
Yeah.
Because they've been clearly designed by people that dig mechs. It's not like some of it. To me, it's very reminiscent of the old school mech designs that when I was a kid you'd see on TV in cartoons that you weren't meant to be watching at that age. Slash, what's it called? Pacific Rim. It's kind of got there's the Soviet tank in Pacific Rim. It's very much that kind of vibe as well. For the Soviet, each of the nations have their own style when it comes to their mechs, and it is clearly made with passion. And as a creative person myself, I can tell when someone's made something with good reference and good inspiration, and it is plastered all over the mechs. Yeah, they are fantastic. They are dorky, and they are exactly what you'd expect a giant walking bipedal tank to be.
That's so cool. I'm so excited.
Now they're going to be plastic.
Do we know when it's coming out? It's this year?
September. You can I might get this wrong. I think it was July. They said you can start pre-ordering for a September release, which is like any day now, right?
That's too soon. That's almost too soon. Holy moly, that's so good.
It's out of nowhere, isn't it?
That's out of nowhere. Oh my god, this is gonna be big. This is gonna be big, man. Oh my days. We've got a couple of super chats coming in here. First one from the Warpforge. Big thank you to him for the super chat. Getting Wolfenstein vibes with the Germans. Do you think that is fair play?
Yes. So the Germans are, each nation has their own style in not just their mechs, but in their sort of approach to warfare. Like we were saying, the Americans are all paratroopers. The Germans are big into gene splicing and doing all sorts of weird and wacky things. So they have sort of made super soldier kind of monstrosities.
Of course they have. Of course they have. No, the Germans, the Germans seeking out the perfect soldier. Of course they have. God damn it.
What happens if we stick bat venom in these our soldiers? And then
is the bat an Aryan bat? Yeah, sure.
And then everyone is like, you have the gas mask Wolfenstein sort of armored to the teeth. Guys alongside of them, probably poking these horrific creations that they've made into battle. Yeah,
because a lot of them are like failed experiments as well, aren't they? There's a few failed experiments going on with the Germans.
You were talking about the I can't remember if it's the Germans or the Soviets that did them, because the Soviet everyone's tried everything here. Yeah, everyone has their own freaky. The Japanese completely ballsed it up and they've made zombies. I think there's German zombies as well, but the Japanese made a lot of zombies.
Japanese made a lot of zombies. Fuck's sake.
There's the guys that have antifreeze in their veins.
Wow. I think it's the Soviet shock troops, isn't it? The Soviet shock troops.
Yeah.
The Siberian. So in normal action, you've got the Siberian veterans who are just veteran infantry which don't mind the cold. And then in Conflict, they were like, okay, so we're going to take the Siberian veterans and we're going to replace their blood with antifreeze. And it was like, don't see any negative side effects to this.
Disclaimer, please don't drink antifreeze.
Yes, please. And now they're not called Siberian veterans, they're called Siberian terror troops, which I remember. So they're currently in metal, but we don't know for sure. But rule of thumb is if if it's in metal now, it's probably coming in plastic. Rule of thumb.
Yeah, and if not, it's probably. I feel like they're doing a lot of moving away from metal into SaltCast as well.
Yes,
So either way, there are upgrades for everything coming. I'm quite confident in saying.
I would just say SaltCast, for those that don't know, is what Warlord call Warlord resin, but it's basically it's what a lot of old D&D models used to be made out of, and I think still are made out of. It's essentially a plastic resin blend, so it's and it's very, very, very interesting technology. You essentially obviously resin models are a bit of a pain in the ass to work with. You get incredible detail, but you have to get the toothbrush out, the parts will warp in the heat, and if you leave, as my brother noticed with a lot of his resin blood angels, if you get your blood angel, put him in the square a bit in the of the carry case, if his sword bends up, when you then bring him out of the carry case, he now has a sword doing that. So resin has a lot of problems, and the metal, of course, is generally low detail and also tends to chip a lot. SaltCast is like, do you want, or SaltCast / Warlord resin is, do you want the detail of resin with the easiness of plastic? Because that's what it is. That's basically what it is. And what's really cool about it is also any models they don't sell can be recycled, because you can break it down and it gets recycled back, which is very, very cool. Generally, you might say, why doesn't everyone use SaltCast? Because plastic injection molding is just so cheap. But it's like, SaltCast is still basically, do you want resin detail on plastic? You can expect from SaltCast. So anything that you see made in Warlord resin, I always give big thumbs up now, because it's actually probably one of the best things that Warlord does at the moment. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is going to be fine cast again, isn't it? But I've not had a single issue with any of the many SaltCast models I've had from Warlord now. And you were saying the convenience of plastic. I also feel it's got some of the convenience of metal, where sometimes you just want to have a model and just get painting with it.
Pull it out of packet, stick on base, there you go.
Go. Yeah. You don't need to wash it like you do with resin. You don't need to leave it in hot soapy water to get all that crud off of it. You just go. All I've got to do with this guy, I've got to put him on a base. He's going to be painted in this time tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's going to be no faffing about.
I love One Piece models, man. And the fact that you get detailed One Piece models is so good.
And whilst plastic is cheaper large scale, this is cheaper small scale.
Yeah.
So this is what allows them to have 7,000 different products on their website for you to choose from. So you can have, particularly in like the bolt action side of things, you can have Fulsham Jaeger mortar teams, you can have SS mortar teams, you can have all the different subsections of the military, which is going to carry over as well into Conflict, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It gives you that range and flexibility, which a lot of other companies don't necessarily support all the factions in their lore particularly well.
Yeah.
As Mordian Glory might be well aware of.
I'm very aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that we're getting slightly off topic, so I'll just literally one line on this from me.
Yeah, rein me in. It's been a long day, rein me in.
No, I will not. I want you, I'm giving you all the rope, man, but it's just, I've spoken about this before. How does Warlord Games, a company which, whilst sizable on its own, is still relatively small in comparison to Games Workshop, how do they have a web store that probably has more items than Games Workshop does? The reason is because they engage in using technologies like SaltCast and like metal casting, which incredibly are actually very cheap for small scale. They just don't scale well. So so they produce all of the stuff that they sell shitloads of in plastic, and then they go for those little niche bits. And Warlord Games have spoken about this before on their seminars. They often feel like they can go for things that other companies, both GW and not GW, can't go for, because they do use these other technologies. So yeah, it's really interesting, and I think so. I really, really like SaltCast. I really like Warlord Resin. We've got another super chat. 2 more super chats coming in here. So we got Tiki Banzai. He says we get Conflict 47 second edition before. Oh no, we get Conflict 42nd second edition IJA before we get Bolt Action version 3 IJA.
I'm not getting involved in the Japanese politics here. I don't know the specific details of what I'm going to assume is it's probably going to be a bit similar to how Bolt Action was handled, where there'll be a core rule book and it's going to have a chunk of units in there.
Yeah, your core rulebook has.
I would be very surprised if the Japanese, the Commonwealth, the Americans all get books on release day.
But they'll come later, probably.
So you might still be waiting, Tiki. I'm sorry. You're nearly there, mate.
It's nearly there.
The Japanese, they're nearly here.
6 months.
And you get they get new plastic sprues as well. That's 2 new Japanese plastic sprues
back to
in
back.
the space of a year, potentially. Yeah.
Never been done.
Crazy. The times we live in.
The times we live in. And then we've got another question here from Maud. Big shout out to Maud. Thank you for the super chat. Do you have any info regarding the werewolves for the Germans or the bear infantry for the Soviets? Did you see any of those whilst you were there?
I did see the German werewolves.
Okay.
Making sure I get those right. Yeah, the Germans are the werewolves. Yeah, the Soviets are the bears. They are there. They were looking fantastic. They have not been upgraded as of yet to anything else. And I'll be honest with you, the ones that I saw, I don't know if they really needed it. They did generally look fantastic.
Yeah.
I did get some footage of those, I'm pretty sure, so Evan will plonk those in here.
Hopefully. He's going to have a lot of plonking to do.
There's a lot of plonking. There's about 50 gigabytes of footage to sift through. But no, they're still in there. All the units that were previously in Conflict are carrying over, so if you do have a strong attachment to your bear men and werewolves, they're all still going to be applicable and playable in the new edition.
What I would say is I think at the moment they're in metal, or resin, one of the two.
I think so.
But
it's definitely one of the two, but I think they might be metal.
Metal. So I would say a good rule of thumb is if it's currently in metal, it'll be in SaltCast within the next year or two. And that's very, very good. That's what I've noticed Warlord doing with. They did it with all the support teams you get for action now.
The teams, yeah. The mortar teams, yeah.
So Mild, we haven't. They exist. We know they're there. We haven't got any more information, but it's a safe bet to say that they will be getting some form of quality of life improvement, even if it's just going over to SaltCast, which is a big deal.
I can see the full bear army comments in the chat now, and that will be possible though because it's using the Bolt Action V3, rule set.
Yeah.
If you want to pump out nothing but bear infantry, you go do that, son.
Yeah. That's so cool. And I think it's worth noting that at the moment we have like 1 or 2 kinds of bear infantry, 1 or 2 kinds of werewolf. If this is big and it's in plastic, we have seen Warlord throw their weight behind what originally people thought were very, very niche factions, and we have seen them grow and prosper. A great example of this, one that you are obviously intimately aware of, Woodham, is the Italians. When the Italians were first introduced to bot action, they were unbelievably niche. 0 plastics. They got a book in which they had to share it with a lot of other factions, and now I would say the Italians they've got a plastic range starting to rival some of the other majors in bot action. They're also supported by loads of metal, like specialty squads like the DT and the big hat men from the Navy. And
Gallery, that's what they're called. Yeah. And they also got the paratroopers as well. They got the full. There's loads. The Italian range is huge. They've got plastic AB-41s coming out now as well.
Yeah. And so. If the point is, if fucking Bolt Action Italy can go from nothing to that, imagine a game with the scope of Conflict 47. It's gonna be massive. Let's have a look. We've got a few. Mark of that says Alpini's Chads. The Alpini are Chads. I love the Alpini, man. That guy says currently the Ursa, which are the bear cavalry, are in resin. So they're in resin at the moment. They'll probably come over to.
I stand corrected.
SaltCast.
In fairness, if they were metal, they'd probably be classed as a lethal weapon. It's given old school box dreadnought vibes. They're big boys, so they're made out of pewter. Which is another benefit actually of the SaltCast is if your minis suddenly go from being made out of metal to being made out of resin, it is significantly lighter. It really adds up.
Mm.
I can tell. I've got a lot of plastic Soviet. I got an army that's almost entirely metal Soviets, and you can tell when you're carrying that case around. Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy.
It's like you can put them all in a pillowcase and beat your opponent with them if the dice don't go your way. So one thing I think that's worth talking about, because we've talked about Warlord in general, we've talked about Konflict big scale, the potential, lore, blah blah blah. We've talked about models, new releases. But one thing before we move on to that, is there anything else you saw on the day that you want to mention now? Anything that people can get excited for? We saw big
all of it. It'll make more sense when you. I'd almost suggest you actually quickly hop on and show the viewers the Warlord Instagram page, so you can see
do it now.
The gigantic pyramid.
Is it on the Instagram page?
Inside of it.
Is it on the Instagram?
They posted a picture, I'm pretty sure, on their Instagram today. Yeah, because they said it's one of those things where they were just like, "It's too cool. So, shall we sell it? Yeah, let's sell it." They're strongly considering selling this, which is possibly going to be the biggest model Warlord have ever sold.
Yeah.
And we were joking about it might have to be delivered on a pallet. It is ginormous, and I don't mean the giant two-legged mech thing. You can win that if you, I think, if you pre-order or something. You can maybe win the gigantic version of the linebacker. I can send you a link potentially if it.
I have Instagram on my phone. It's being a bit of a pisser now, but I'm gonna try and log in.
We have the power. Hang on.
No. Could you send me a picture on the Discord, and then I can just bring it up?
I can certainly do that. Hang on.
There we go. That'd be easier, rather than me pissing around trying to password reset, which would make for riveting content.
I will piss around and do it instead.
Nice. Spick says he's put it in stream discussion. So I'll tell you what I'll do is I will go off your face for a moment.
I wish I could have had this more organized, but I've literally just gotten back from Birmingham. I live in the west coast of Wales.
Totally okay. Okay, so
I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about it now, though, while it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah, of course.
Splits off.
Okay, so here we go. So this, fucking hell.
Hang on, I've closed you.
What is
that? Is it the big crab thing?
Dude, what is that? They have to sell that.
Yes, that is it. Yeah.
And that's the new mech. The new scuttling mech there.
That's it there. So you see at the top, it's got this. That's a Tesla light bulb in the top of it. So it goes all around it. You mean like the plasma balls? Yeah, at the very top.
Yeah. Is that a working plasma ball?
Yes.
Oh my god, that is such a cool idea.
What you're circling? I think I'm watching your stream now, so I'm a bit behind you. Circling the little crab tank.
Yeah.
A moment ago. That's the new 6-legged German tank.
Okay.
And the walkers that you see for the Americans in that particular image are the old ones. That's not the new one.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm sure there's got to be a picture somewhere in there.
Well, yeah, there'll be more. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's an actual... that's so cool. So they put a plasma ball. Come on, how can anyone not look at this? Grey Knight 1 just went, shit, that's awesome. Shit, that's awesome. I love this. It's totally red alert. I told you, man, it's a great way you can market this is it's Wolfenstein, the board game. Wolfenstein, the tabletop board game. It's Command & Conquer, the tabletop board game. It's... Yeah.
These pictures don't even show the scale of the whole table together. I'm looking forward to showing you the sort of the wide shots.
What the hell is this thing? The giant green...
You got to bear with me.
You're behind slightly.
Many seconds behind. Bear with me. It's coming.
Holy shit,
man. The giant green thing. What? I don't know what...
is that the linebacker jump walker?
Oh, it might be. Yeah, if it's quite a big looking 2-legged walker thing, that's the new linebacker.
That's in plastic.
I'm gonna wait before I could. No, all right. So yeah, that is it, but that is a upscaled version of it.
Ah!
They're not doing Warlord Titans.
I was like, Jesus, man. Jesus. Okay.
But that is the design. They've just blown it up. That is a prize that you can win.
Okay.
Possibly by attending the event specifically. And obviously you've got the lovely Dave, Dan, and co behind the gigantic linebacker there.
And look, I've
actually remembered now what the Rift Dice ability is, and I believe that the plasma cannon, the Tesla coil monstrosity it's got attached to its arm there is you can essentially, if you activate it, you give yourself an additional D6 hits with it.
Yeah.
On top of what already something like 6 hits. But if I'm assuming that they said it could blow up, so maybe if you roll a 1, you actually end up just zapping yourself with it.
That'd be brilliant. I just want to say, looking in the back, because obviously the big, I've gone back to the big spider plasma ball.
You can see the new American Jumpy Boys.
Look at the American Jumpy Boys in the back, and they're like the German like vampire troops like chasing them around. Like that is so cool.
God, I wish that we could show you the
people will see it in post production. Don't worry.
Well,
the people will see it post production. That is
for the live stream viewers. Once we finish the call, I will throw some raw clips of
down a stream discussion or something for the people.
I'll stick in the stream discussion, or maybe put them in the Bolt Action channel, just not to clog up your stream channel.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Like this is the one time when the post live people will actually feel superior to the live stream people, so they'll be all right with it. Don't worry. Wow, that is I had something completely different in my head when you were describing the spider walker. I thought, honestly, I was thinking half the size, not even half the size, that a quarter of the size.
It's like 2 feet wide. It's monstrous. And when they were saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to sell this," and they were like, "I don't know, maybe 20 people will buy it, but sod it, it'll be funny, right? Why not? It's huge tank. It's going to take the resin department a whole day to make one."
I tell you now, it will entirely depend, probably, on how expensive it is. Like,
yeah, I mean, the thing with resin models is the weight is a big component of the cost. But I'm pretty sure it will be so expensive that you'll qualify for the free shipping, so you don't have to worry about that at least.
Yeah, and they'll just make it to order, so it'll be. They'll make it to order as long as they can sell 2 or 3 of them. I mean, I'll buy one. Warlord right now. Put me down for one.
Oh, there you are. There's one.
I'll buy one, and I'm sure I'm sure if they can sell.
Tiki will buy one.
Tiki will buy one. Yeah, I'm sure if we can buy a handful of them, then that'll justify them making it. Yeah, for sure, man. So cool. So unbelievably cool, man. Oh my god, we've got some questions coming in from Twitch as well, actually. So let me have a quick.
Oh, hit me up.
Let me have a look.
I'm having a dive on the internet to try and find some picture of the German guys with the gigantic AT gun while we're doing this.
I want to say a big shout out to Irish Relief over on Twitch. So he says, are we keeping the totem core? Yes, everything that is currently in action is staying. Guys, I know we've been glazing Warlord a lot, but I'm going to glaze them again. This is not Games Workshop. If you buy something on Warlord, typically they will keep supporting it, okay? Like, it's fine. So Totem Core exist and they will continue to exist. They're probably going to come over in plastic, to be honest. I suspect it is not out of the realms of possibility for Warlord to sell 30 plastic zombies. Considering, like, there's an entire Call of Duty sub-franchise based around the idea of World War II German zombies. So I'm sure Warlord will happily jump on that. And if not, they'll definitely end up in SaltCast. He also said he would definitely be up for one of those big spider bots. Yes, that's 3. Yeah. We've got 3 orders now.
We're getting there. We've
got 3 orders now. Let's have a look. Oh, and he was just saying, it's going back a little bit to what we're talking about, how Warlord are like normal people. He said, I asked a generic rules question once. It took a few days, but John Stallard sent me an email back answering the question and apologising for the delay in reply. The fact that he would
John Stallard himself?
John Stallard himself, the CEO of the company. The fact that he would take the time out to answer a question like that was really one of those things that keeps me shilling for Warlord games so hard. And I know a lot of people listening to this will go, well, I bet it was his secretary. I am telling you right now, it would definitely have been John. Okay? It definitely would have been. This guy trawls through wargaming forums, getting into discussions and debates with people. And whenever there's an open day, he walks around in shorts and sandals handing out biscuits to people. He is unfathomably based. Trust me, if there's a reason, it will have been him behind that keyboard. I'm telling you right now.
If you ask him really nicely, he'll take you upstairs and show you his rifle collection as well.
That is true. That is absolutely
true. He
brings
in his historical weapons on the open day for everyone to come have a look at.
It's amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Let's have a look. Blackstone Chapter Master coming in with a super chat here. Thank you very much for support, man. You don't have to look right now, but meme from last night's discussion. Also, everything you've been showing looks fucking cool. It is fucking cool.
I think I have the clip that we want.
We've got the clip that we want.
It shows everything. Oh, has he done it? I think he's done it. It might not be the highest resolution. I will put it in stream discussions for everyone to see.
We'll go and check it out in a moment. I think just drilling down on Blackstone Chat's Master Super Chat there for a second. It is fucking cool. And
yeah,
here's, again, coming back to the original somewhat clickbaity topic of this being, you know, a bit of a 40k killer. Like we said, it's probably more of a 40k flicker of the astronomical, flicker in the warp more than anything else. But I think it is a big deal. And I think something like this is, we've talked about accessibility. We've talked about this not being historical. I think there's something about sci-fi. There's something about this which is so, it can grab anyone. Because World War II, if you're just not interested in World War II, it doesn't matter how cool the models are, you're not going to get them. And with sci-fi, because it's less constrained, it's so much more available for someone to go, this looks cool. And this comes up from multiple levels. But the moment someone thinks something's cool, they start getting inspired by it. They start thinking about it. They're at work, you know, they're thinking about it. They can't help themselves. They're going to get home and they're going to start thinking about buying it. I don't know if that's about you, but that's how I think. If I see something cool that someone's done or a company's released, I know I'm going to get it. Eventually, I know I'm going to get it. But yeah, I think what's really important here is, like, if you're not into World War II, you're just not going to be interested. If Warlord Games releases something sci-fi for this game, that can grab you. But what's really going to grab you is when you see a conversion or a kit bash from the community. The first time, the moment we start seeing people's like kit bash, like spider legs, where like there's one of the legs, spider walkers, one of the legs is about to like stamp down on top of like an American infantry. It's like,
what'll happen?
You know, that's going to happen. Someone's going to see that and go, what the fuck is this, and can I buy it? And then they're going to go, oh shit, this isn't like a random model that someone's made. This is actually for a game, so I have a reason to buy it because I'm going to be able to use it. I think that's what's so massive about it. Yeah, it's not just the inspiration you can get from the company, it's the inspiration you get, which is more important, you're going to get from the community. Anyway, let us now have a look at what have you put it in stream discussion?
Put it in stream discussions. Now, I should say, I'm not sure if... No, this is it. Yeah, this is from today. I was checking because obviously they made the board ahead of time. This is the board, and you can see underneath the giant crab thing, it doesn't have a name yet, I don't think. You can see the new German...
1 minute, I'm going to...
Power donned guys. You can also see there's some standard World War II American stuff in there as well as some Tesla cannon Shermans. You can get a better look at the table as a whole.
Let's have a look at this.
Whole, it's still about a quarter of the table because there's so much more to it.
Oh my god, that looks so fucking cool.
And actually, the mechs at the front there, I
wow.
believe, are the new one. No, I think they're still the old one as well. Warlord, show off your products in your promotional
I
videos.
know, I know. Look at that though. You've got your American infantry walking up behind. Is that a Greyhound with a fucking Tesla turret?
I can't quite tell from the back, but yeah,
Greyhound.
why not? And then you can see you got some German tanks there with Tesla mortars on the top. I don't know what's going on.
The big Cyclops eye things, yeah. The big Cyclops eyes. That's so cool. And I just want to say, third dimension, this American infantry that we can see here, that looks a little bit like an ahistorical colour scheme of that infantry. Are they wearing like white?
You do what you want.
Yeah, do what you want. And like, when was the last time you saw fucking teal on any? Like one of the things that often I think holds back historicals is if you want them to look realistic, they have to look drab. Unless you're going down Napoleonics, of course, but they have to look drab because that's they were trying to be how not to be seen. But with this, it's like you can be like you can paint them how you want. Oh, God, yeah. I am actually so hyped for this. It's insane. And then we've got are these the new heavy infantry here?
You can see them. Yeah, it's sadly. It's just out of frame somehow, the one with the AT gun. But that said, they are big boys.
I have a feeling you have a unhealthy
footage.
I know, I was going to say, I got an unhealthy love affair with this AT gun guy. Is that's the one that sold it for you?
You'll understand when you see it.
Okay.
Because it's not like he's carrying a small AT gun. No, he's got like one of the AT guns that you buy when you buy an AT 3-man crew kit. And he's just slinging it around.
That's incredible, man. That is actually incredible. God, I'm so hyped,
I think the other guys have double-barreled STGs. I think is what I think it was Kieran I was talking to about this. They have some kind of tricked-out assault rifle. The rest of them, and I wouldn't be surprised if they'll punch your face off in melee as well.
Yeah. Like, because you can imagine there's going to be things like power fists and power swords and all that kind of stuff coming back to. I think I remember with the current Soviet heavy infantry, like they've got like PPSHs strapped to one wrist and they've got like hammers and sickles in the other hand, and they're like powered hammers and like powered sickles and stuff. It's very, very.
I know
cool.
they have. I think the bear guys just have mauls. They just have big rocks.
Yeah,
on the stick.
Bits of rebar. Yeah.
Beat you with that.
Yeah. Godlike Poet says, he says, brother, I try to do this in a terrible, demonetizing German accent. Brother, the tank got destroyed, but don't worry, I took the gun. That's the power-armored guy with the anti-tank gun. So true, man. Oh, my God. Oh my!
Nice cracker stuff. You're probably going to see more stuff coming out about it from Warlord over the next couple of days.
Yeah,
they'll have their own degree of promotional what they put into it. But we're saying, what else can you tell us? How much more is going to be in the kit? They're like, there's so much more to say about this, and we're going to be stringing it along until September, because it's going to take up until September for them to reveal each little bit more and more and more and more. Today was just the first day. This is just the beginning.
I'm telling you right now, man. I'm telling you, I've already got a million ideas going through my head. I've already got a million. I
still haven't decided what I'm going to play.
Well, that's a good question. What are you thinking? Italians?
Obviously, I love my Italians, but the Germans are really cool as well.
Yeah.
But so are the Americans, and so are the. It's one of those things where you'll spend 2 hours going through the Konflict product line on their website. And you're really going to struggle to pick one.
Okay.
I've not found anyone yet that could just go, I'm definitely playing those. The rest are terrible. No, everything is cool in its own right. It's fantastic.
Which are you going to collect first? Because we all know you're going to get more than
one. The Italians probably.
Yeah.
Because they also have the jumpy boys like the Americans do. And I should mention that the way that a lot of these factions work is if you're playing as the Axis, the Italian, the sort of the baddie, well, okay, maybe not the baddie Italians, we're getting World War II there. The side of Italy that joined up with the Axis in that
No, they were the baddie
Confederation,
ones.
we'll
It's
call it.
okay. Like they
Yeah,
were the
okay, I don't-
baddies.
I mean, I don't know the law. Maybe
We're not
they
streaming
were.
on
Maybe
Rumble.
in this universe.
We're not streaming on Rumble. They were the baddie ones. It's okay.
Well, they can work together, and you can take the German tanks, and you can take Italian infantry, and you can mix and match those. That's not a problem. Same with the Commonwealth, where I'm not sure what all the different nations are going to be in the Commonwealth and the law, but if you want to do some Canadian stuff with some British stuff, you can mix and match it there as well. There's a lot of flexibility and range in it. So I don't necessarily have to just go Italians, but I probably will. Centurions and jetpack boys. What more do you need?
I just had a mad
And if
idea.
I can get an M14 with a Tesla cannon on the top of it, then I'm sold.
Do it, man. Do it. It's just made me like realize, we're talking about like my instinct is, especially with like bot action, like, oh, I've got to have my the German guys have got to wear like the German uniforms and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is that you could actually make almost a completely custom army.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, this might be if you're really into kit bashing, you could have a bunch of guys with the American weapons, but then kit bash them to maybe have like the German helmets or vice versa. And the idea be you come up with the law around it. Maybe they're like an independent faction that supports the different nations, like mercenaries. There's all sorts of things you can do with it because you're not constrained by the historics of it.
I mean, you can do way more than that even. Where say I've seen people do this with Old World, where they kit bash different stuff in. I think it was one of your channel members made Roman Centurion.
Yes, yes, so cool.
If you want to play Brits and you're thinking, I'll make an Anglo-Saxon themed force where everyone's running around making with shields to make shield walls with, and you want to kit bash them that way, you do that. If you want to make, you can do whatever you want. You want to make Native American styled Americans. Because
so
they're
cool,
all flying about all over the
powered
place.
tomahawks and stuff. That's so cool.
You can do whatever you want.
That's
the world's your oyster.
Cool. Tiki just said, and he just reminded me of this. He's actually got a Conflict 47 army right now, which is the cult of Imhotep from the Mummy. Yeah. So good. Imhotep.
I love the Mummy.
Yeah, it's great.
The beginning scene of the Mummy is an iconic scene. That's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
But thinking of Tiki though, you can do some crazy. You can do samurai. Well, they're kind of samurai-ish already. Actually, if you want to do the Japanese special units, but you could really lean into the Bushido thing if you wanted to. Or you can kind of stick with this. Their current style is a little bit mix of both. They got some really interesting mech designs, but then they'll have like the stylistic tiling of shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Like the samurai used to have. They used to have those flat shields for when they did archery. Basically, the mechs have archery shields on their shoulders because why not?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, imagine if the Japanese mech had a giant bow. I'm writing to Warlord tomorrow.
This is it.
Yeah, but why does the mech not have a bow?
Why does the bow, like the Japanese bow, is like it's longer at the top than it is at the bottom? That's what we need. That's what we need.
You just make it yourself because you can do whatever you want.
You can do what you want.
I mean, obviously within reason, it's got to match the rule set, but the only limitation is your creativity and your imagination.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to push for.
I really think really cool. I expect to see this now because I won't be the only one that's come with this idea. Get a bunch of the like pike and shot guys for the Japanese infantry, and then just put the rifles into their hands, and they can be your generic Japanese infantry. They don't need to be like the heavy infantry or anything, but it can just be your Conflict 47 lore can be like with the opening of the Rift Tech, some of the...
They just went into Renaissance style.
They went well, the opening of the Rift Tech meant that like because of the power of the guns and stuff that were going on, like really camouflage started becoming less useful. So the Japanese decided that they were going to go back to the old brightly coloured stuff of like and the intimidation tactics. They've all got like the lion masks on. It's so cool.
You know in Django where he gets to choose his clothes for the first time and he goes to the blue suit with the ruff.
Yeah,
it's basically going to be that.
It's definitely going to be that. I'm telling you right now, I don't know if it's going to be the first army I do, but it is going to be an army, guaranteed. I am going to go for Soviets. and I am going to paint
choice.
them red, and I'm going to make a Red Alert 2 Soviet Army where all my conscripts have got PPSHs, and I'm going to have like twin barrel tanks, and I'm going to make it happen. It's going to be amazing.
The tanks that the Soviets have are pretty cool. I think they've got a couple of spider tanks too.
Yes.
They're cracking.
100%. Let's do a quick touch and base with chat. Chat, what do you think? Firstly, how hyped are you for Conflict 47? And B, if you are Conflict curious at the very least, which faction would you get first? Let's see, YouTube chat and Twitch chat. Let's see. Let's just do a quick eyeball check on which we think which faction is going to end up being one that draws people in. Germans, Americans, Soviets, Japanese, all this kind of stuff. I believe says Germans, then IJA. We've got I should find an idea on how to use all those free Warlord game. Yeah, Warlord games keep sending him free sprues, and now he's got a game he could use them on. That's brilliant. A lot of people saying they are definitely conflict curious. Hashtag conflict curious. There we go. With curious, but with a K. Very, very clever, Tiki.
I find it really interesting how popular the Japanese are, because they're obviously a very popular faction in bolt action as well. But people seem to that weird little quirk that makes Japan an interesting nation to play seems to almost be amplified in its crazy madness in Conflict, because we've not even actually spoken about the crazy units that the Japanese do, because they have samurais that can run through walls and they like phase in and out of reality. Yeah. So what, you can banzai charge through walls now? I don't know the rules, but it's a really there's so much fun little interesting quirks to each nation. Yeah, and man, people like Japan. It's such a popular faction. Yeah, Japan. I mean, you were a Japanese player, but then you're a meta chasing piece of shit, so you jumped over to the Italians. Mate, I went to one tournament and I got dumpstered by one of the top Spanish team members, and I was just like, I can't touch this army again. I just can't. I got trauma. Next time we see them, they're all going to be repainted in bright Bushido colors for Conflict now. I mean, I am tempted by Japan for Conflict as well. I'm very tempted by Japan for Conflict. The Japan book's not that far away for bolt action too. There's a good time ahead for the Japanese players. We've got let's have a quick sort of eyeball poll. We've got IJA coming up a lot. Soviets a bit, Germans a bit. Got a couple of people saying Americans. Mal saying he's doing a full bear army. So it seems, I would say, based on our loose eyeball poll, it looks like IJA followed by Germans followed by Soviets seem to be the favorites, which kind of does make sense because they're the ones that have the opportunity for the craziest shit. Where, you know, because less constrained by things like mixer, right? Yeah, less constrained by things like human rights and stuff. So they just go for all the mad stuff. All right, amazing. All right, but I think that just about brings us to a close. Is there any last bits you want to throw down? If you're watching the live stream, give me 10 minutes and I will dump high definition 4K 60 FPS footage of all the models in the channel. People that were watching on YouTube, you will have already seen those, so enjoy. There we go. As I say, that there's more to be announced that Warlord are going to be trickling out at different events, so it's something to follow. I'd recommend following Warlord games on their Instagram, because that's quite a common place for them to share these things, as well as obviously the Mordian Glory channel. Of course. And you know what? My final thoughts are I really need to get back in touch with Warlord. I have been basically incommunicado for like 6 months, and I didn't even know Kieran was in a different department now. So I need to meet new Kieran, and I need to basically I'm telling you, like, because I obviously covered a lot of the hype from 3rd edition about action, but then my head got turned
things like heresy, all I'm going to say is my head is turning back a little bit. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, here's an idea then, actually, because we myself and Varrak were there today talking to the Warlord team, and they were talking about maybe him and I revisiting the Warlord HQ. So what if I was to propose to him that Varrak, myself, and you were to go over to Warlord and maybe take part in a demo game of the Konflict 47?
Yeah, that has to happen.
And we can film that, we can have a chat, and we can interrogate every member of staff there. So what little we haven't been able to discuss today, we can start filling in the gaps.
I think that will leave that has to happen, and we'll leave that as a to be seen soon. A little teaser, a little cliffhanger. That's it, a cliffhanger for the viewers. All right, amazing. Everyone in chat, let's get an 07 for Woodim. Massive thank you to him for A, going to the thing, and then B, giving up his time after having a busy day. And mate, thank you so much, man. It has been it's been fantastic. Really appreciate it.
No, I'm happy to be on, and it's great to talk to you.
All right, catch you later, buddy. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Redfield, 32, Jurgens, Miasma, Try Again, Bragg, RJ, Scorpion, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Nicholas Walsh, John Stubbs, Guardian, Varney, Sword, Fish Trombone, Picklock the Forged. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.